The Virginia Children's Services system transformation is about transforming how we deliver child welfare in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
We looked at our outcomes, on the state level and on the local level, and the outcomes we saw for our youth and our families were not what we wanted to see. They were not good enough. We said, what is it that can be done that is really going to make a difference? And the family engagement process is really very much in alignment with the values that we hold in Virginia. Family engagement is a process, and it has a number of tools in it. And some of those tools are family team meetings, family team decision-making meetings, family group conferencing meetings. The process itself is about having families be the decision maker and the expert in plans for their own children.
Team decision-making meeting is a process, a deliberate attempt, if you will, to put together our agency staff, families, family support, our community, and our youth around a table to talk about critical placement decisions when the family's in crisis.
It really is a deliberate, structured approach to how you engage the family in the life of their child, in the decision-making process. And so I'd like to call it giving voice and choice to children and families.
Because we have learned that, in truth, teams make better decisions than individuals. This understanding in our field has really opened so many doors for us in finding new ways to support better outcomes for our families and for our children.
Our team decision-making meetings are led by a facilitator. A facilitator is a non-caring social worker, so they're supposed to be the objective person, if you will, around the table. The social worker supervisor, the youth's family, and any of the family support. One thing about team decision-making meetings is we allow the youth and the family to dictate who they want around the table. So the participants mainly comprise of who the family and the youth have asked to come around the table.
Well, first I was nervous because I knew all the attention was going to be on me, and I hate being on the spotlight because that's kind of embarrassing. And then afterwards I felt comfortable knowing that it wasn't going to be an argument, it was more about me and the things that I needed to further me in life. It lets me know that I do have people that care about me and that are concerned about the things that I need. So it would make me feel comfortable.
When you have the team sitting around a table, just envision a team sitting around a table and they're brainstorming ideas. You have people who are going to bring solutions, ideas to the table that we as professionals may not think of.
The best part of team decision-making meeting is having everyone at the table. It is a powerful statement. It's overwhelming to see family members smile, embrace each other, but to sit around a table and come up with a decision and feel that they're a part of that decision.
Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Marianne Zatello and I'm a facilitator with our agency. We're here today for what's called a staffing, which is basically a meeting that we have when we gather together as a team with family members and members of our community in order to discuss issues specifically related to possible placement needs of your son Tony. And any information that we discuss, we do consider to be held private and personal. My role is to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to speak. So before we go any further, why don't we have everyone introduce themselves?
My name is Doreen Piazza. I'm from the West Side Community House. I've known the Davis family for quite some time now, and I'm here to be a support to their family.
Jamie Davis, I'm Tony's mother.
Irvin Davis, I'm Tony's father.
I'm Mrs. Myrna Davis, and Irvin is my son, and of course Tony is my grandson.
I'm James Lallo, the social worker that was on duty last night at the emergency room.
Lisa Stevens-Cutner, I'm the supervisor for the social worker assigned to the family.
And I'm Marquita Dorsey, I'm the ongoing social worker assigned to the family.
In these meetings, we like to give everyone an opportunity to be heard.
Let's see what Ms. Dorsey has to say first.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I've been working with you for a couple of weeks now surrounding some issues relating to Tony's care and Mrs. Davis, your postpartum depression. The reason why I invited you here today was because I received a report that last night you took Tony into the emergency room with a high fever and a rash. And that's good that you took him in. What happened at the hospital is Mr. and Mrs. Davis came in. Both of them appeared to be intoxicated. They brought Tony in because he had a high fever and a rash. And while there, hospital personnel saw Mr. Davis being very overbearing and very dominant over her, and she told some hospital personnel that she felt very overwhelmed with the care of Tony and that sometimes she felt that she might hurt him.
I do have some concerns from last night. It's not unusual after you've had a baby to have postpartum depression, or what they call the baby blues. We're concerned about how that might affect your ability to care for Tony. In addition to that, myself and some of the staff on the floor last night smelled alcohol on both your breaths. That, in conjunction with some of the depression, kind of makes us concerned. In addition to that, we're also concerned about some possible tension in your relationship or how you guys relate with each other. If you have
Wait a minute. What does that have to do with our child? You ought to understand, I love my child, my family. I work hard, long hours, just to make sure that they're taken care of. So what if I drank a beer? I'm entitled to drink a beer as long as my child is taken care of, my family is well provided for.
He does. He works.
Oftentimes, if you attend to some of the family members' feelings of anxiety or if they may feel upset, and if you can pretty much give them an opportunity to express that, it can be a real turning point for you in that meeting. Because if they feel they are being heard and that they are not ignored, then they can stop and really start to listen and understand a little bit more fully what people that are present have to say. And I feel they also feel as though we are listening to what they have to say. So my job is really to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and share information and help build consensus among all the members of that meeting. But Mrs. Davis, what are you really feeling here? What do you need from us?
I don't know what I need. I just want my baby. That's all I want. At the particular time, I was drinking too. And I was afraid that something might happen that I wouldn't be able to control. Or to try to explain to them. I couldn't explain situations at that time because I was so deep in my depression. I had no conversation for anybody.
You know, I've known Jamie for a while now. This is not like her. She's going through a lot right now. I think if we could all be a little bit more patient with her, she will open up.
My role in the meeting with the Davis family, the team decision-making meeting, was to pretty much be there, a support to the family, to hopefully be able to offer some services to the family, which would help to maybe prevent Tony from being removed in the first place, and at the same time to offer some services to Jamie to support her through the things that she's been going through.
The community is a very integral part of our decision-making process. We invite them to the table to participate, and some of our most valuable information comes from the sources who either already have awareness of the family or certainly know what services are available that would be appropriate for the family's needs. And it also helps link up the families with services right away.
When an agency invites others to its table to make its most critical decisions, it lays itself open to criticism. On the other hand, it's a tremendous trust builder because in being so open, in sharing a critical decision with partners, an agency allows others to understand the complexity of the decisions it makes. Suddenly some trust starts to build. People start to have a little bit more supportive attitude toward your public child welfare agency, which is helpful to all of us.
It just feels like it's a better decision because it was made with as much input as we could possibly do.
Another really strong value in team decision making is straight talk, candid communication. And a big challenge is to remain strengths-based while at the same time being absolutely honest with a family about what you're concerned about.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, let's start with your strengths, because I see a number of them, some of which is your attachment to Tony. I know you love your baby. I've seen you interact with him, and I know the love is there. Another good thing is your stable employment. You're able to take care of your family and provide Tony and your wife with all life's necessities. You also have the support of Mrs. Davis, and you have community support. Those are all
We
really good
do not
things.
say things outside the room regarding the situation that we're unwilling to say in the family's presence. Trust is built in the belief that I'm hearing everything you have to say about me here in this room. That is a real core principle of team decision making.
Some of the concerns that I have are your depression, because it may interfere with your ability to take care of Tony. Another is that you're at work all day long and she's isolated at home with the baby all by herself. The alcohol, I don't know if it is or it isn't a problem.
Sometimes family members, if we give them an opportunity to just talk among themselves, they may come up with a decision or an alternative for their child that really fits in with what our ideas may be, but that really they have taken ownership for and maybe they have actually initiated. And those can be some very good decisions for their children.
I don't understand what's wrong with my wife. All I know is that I want my wife to get better so we can keep our family together.
I've seen some serious situations come through the hospital related to postpartum depression, and we're really concerned about a parent who has this kind of depression being able to take care of their child safely. That child may need to be removed from that situation until the parent is able to get their depression under control. Until then, I'm not sure that the child can be safe.
Our first concern is always going to be Tony's safety, but we also have to look at what effect removal of Tony from his parents is going to have on him. We need to look at his bonding with his mother and make sure that we consider all these areas before we look at removing him from the home.
Maybe we should think about considering a short-term placement so that Mrs. Davis could focus more on recovering from her depression. Even if today the decision that's made here is to remove Tony from the home, we'll stick together and we will work on reunifying.
You know, I'm hearing a lot of important things come up here. On the one hand, I'm hearing the family, you know, has a very strong attachment to their son, obviously, and you obviously love him very much. And I'm also hearing that some members of the community have some concerns about whether or not Tony can be safe at home, and also some support that may be available from the neighborhood as well. So I'm wondering, if we were to consider Tony staying in the home with a safety plan, what would that look like?
You know, we here at Westside Community House, we offer a lot of services that are supportive for our families from the neighborhood.
We don't assume that a really good decision is always to keep the family together or is always to remove a child. A good decision is one that brings in the maximum amount of information, that ensures active participation, a comfort level from the parents that allows them to feel a strong voice in the process. Those are the things that make for a good process. In the end, the agency does own its decision. However, it's a very different message to family and community to undertake that process in a participative fashion.